Hello, everyone, and welcome to the almost award-winning Sprint Zero podcast. My name is Mike Gowland, and I'm here with my co-partner, Rat and Climb, John Russell. Say hello, John.
Hello, how are you? You alright?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Pretty
Good.
busy, but
it's important to ask how people are.
Indeed, yes.
So, John, on the podcast today, we have Andy Wingate. Andy is the Business Central Practice Director at Venture. He is a big proponent of community in this space and loves sharing his knowledge and sharing ideas with others on how to solve problems. Welcome to the podcast, Andy. How are you doing today? Is Andy muted for everyone else, or is it just me?
He's muted from me as well. Yeah, it was working before we started recording. Now it's not. And also, what I really love about this is it's not me. Usually it's always me. So,
No, it's fine, Andy. What we'll have to do is just stop the recording. I could hear you just slightly there.
that's me.
No, I could hear. No, Andy's audio came through as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Andy, welcome to the podcast!
Can you hear me now? The classic. God.
That was great.
And in true Sprint Zero fashion, that is being left in the episode.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. That's really good. It's really good.
So,
technology, guys. What can I say?
Yeah.
how do you solve that problem?
Yeah, it's off and on again, I guess.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, if that doesn't solve 99% of all the IT problems, we're really scuffed.
Oh, that's really good because normally,
Really, for those people that can't lip read, I'll repeat what I said earlier, which is really pleased to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Is that really what you said?
I just love this podcast for the amount of randomness that is in it. There's always something that's great. Thanks, Andy, for coming on the podcast. Do you want to give us a little bit of background as to who you are and how you've kind of got to where you are today?
Yeah, certainly. So I work currently. I'm in charge of Business Central practice at a venture group. I've been on the partner side for just under 3 years, working predominantly with Business Central, delivering projects for clients, SMB, sort of sector. Before that, I was on the end user side for about 13 years. When I left that end user side, I was head of IT, head of business systems for SMB company. I was responsible for, keeping the lights on IT, as well as I was sort of on the client side. We delivered a couple of projects for the company I was working at. Nav on-prem, the on-prem sort of predecessor to Business Central, and all the other stuff that you have to deal with as a sort of a lights on IT type person. So, it's my sort of jump in the fence, poacher turned gamekeeper, or the other way around. I'm not sure which one it is. Across to the Microsoft side has been, it's been quite an incredible journey. I'm very pleased where I am today. Absolutely love it in the Microsoft sector. I think it's unique. It's incredible. I had that chance before. I had a lot of vendors to deal with, and I never really got the chance to focus in on Microsoft, right? But then, if you're working for a Microsoft partner delivering Business Central, well, I might as well see what this, let's go along to the South Coast Summit or the user group, this, that, or the other. And from the very first meeting, coming along, seeing all these people from other partners, competitors, but they're stood up the front there saying, okay, guys and girls, here's the problem we've all got. Here's how I've found a really cool way of solving it, and just sharing, and lots of. It's an incredibly open and welcoming community. So that was a revelation for me, and loving it.
And I think that's what I've always. I think when I first got into the Microsoft community, especially with the other partners, I think that's what took me back when I first entered that space, because previously I'd been working in another industry where you wouldn't even dream of interacting with competitors in any way, shape or form. Like, it was just completely like, no, that's definitely something you don't do. But actually, like, the community we have, especially within Power Platform and Dynamics, it's all like knowledge sharing, and it just benefits everyone. What was your reaction when you walked into that sort of like scenario where that had changed? For me, it was really jarring at first.
I mean, it was really enjoyable experience. I happened to go along to a talk, and there was like Chris Hunting. I was sat at the back, and this guy sat down next to me, tattoos and everything, and he had his laptop open. He's like crunching away there, doing a presentation, and then he like is, and then now we welcome Chris to the stage, and up he went, and it was Chris Huntingford talking about Power Platform. Obviously, I was like, oh, that was amazing. And then then there was another session on that day where Laura Brown was in the audience, and Chris was joking about Yellow Excel, and she's like, I'll get you, Chris. It was just the sort of the back and forth. I was like, wow, this place is amazing. My local one at Cambridge, I went along, and I met a few, again, the people there, talking about stuff, just sharing, and then went to pub afterwards, a few drinks, and they're like, come along to this conference. Have you got this one in your diary? You should really come along. Have you thought about talking? You should really do it. What do you do? Business Central. Oh, Business Central, crikey, like hen's teeth. Like, we never heard anyone doing that.
And for anybody who hasn't heard of what Business Central is, can you just give us an overview of that solution?
Of course. So Business Central is the SMB ERP solution from Microsoft. It sits within the D365 family. So you've got D365 F&O is kind of your enterprise end of the scale. D365 Business Central is your SMB end of the scale. But really, Business Central, Microsoft are pushing it extremely hard. It's grown quite significantly over the last, number of years. One of the reasons is that Microsoft continue to sort of invest in that underlying core service and underlying core features. And there's more and more larger end of the SMB businesses where Business Central is a really great fit. And so, yeah, it's Microsoft it's the sort of the poster child for Microsoft at the minute. You go along to these partner events and it's Business Central, Business Central, Business Central. So it's a wonderful time to be on the Business Central gravy train.
And do you find any technical challenges with Business Central implementations? Is there anything that you think, I wish the product team would identify and fix that specific problem, because it comes up all the time?
Yeah, I mean, so the strategy with Business Central, like for devs, there's always things where like, wouldn't it be great if it did it on that project? But the strategy on Business Central is Microsoft invest in the underlying service layer. So, security, uptime, performance, all that good stuff. And they invest in the core financial functionality, something that is like horizontal across all industries. And then AppSource, comes in for your industry specific, functionality that you require. I mean, for Business Central on AppSource, I think there's now over 6,000, published apps. Obviously, some are better than others, of course. And, as one of the kind of the key roles as a Business Central partner is you partner with these top quality ISVs. And there's certain apps on AppSource that, you put on 90% of projects, you might use a particular app. It just fits that virtual function, that functionality sort of from a vertical point of view, solves a problem. Do you build it or do you buy it? Well, when there's really a cost effective, they've been running for many, many years, ISV that solves that problem. It's really handy. I mean, whenever I'm talking to clients, I always do the simple analogy of, you buy your iPhone and then the first thing you do is install WhatsApp on it, perhaps. It's very, very similar on Business Centrals. Yes, there's always things that the product team, I think the biggest challenge for the product team is, what's the next thing that they're going to put in? Of course, Business Central has got the release waves. So we're just kind of going through 2024 release wave 2. Loads of great stuff in that particular release wave. Massive functionality around subscription billing. So that's a global trend, effectively. More and more businesses are moving to that subscription model for revenue, for all the benefits it gives. So they've added in a huge level of functionality. They, in fact, purchased an ISV basically, and they just baked it into the solution. It's part of the license fee now, as it comes with it when you've got your standard license. And they've also addressed, reporting. They've added a big slug of Power BI reports and more functionality within the system. So, there's always a few things that clients always want to customize stuff, right? So we try, of course, the strategy usually is to take it off the shelf, configure it, and minimize the customizations. But you've got a whole raft of ISVs to cover kind of different types of functionality. The Business Central works perfectly with, all the Power Platform. So you've got that entire tool set to use, and that, that's the connections between the two are getting better and better with each release wave. I'm just looking ahead at the 2025. There's going to be more connections there, like Copilot Studio can run actions inside BC. Of course, in the next release wave, we saw at So Directions is the annual big conference for Business Central. 3,500 people in Vienna, pure BC. One of the things we saw there demonstrated by Microsoft was the sales order agent, Copilot. So this is taking Copilot. We've got a number of Copilots in BC that do little bits and bobs jobs here, there, and everywhere. But this is the first time in Business Central where we've got this interactive agent. It was a great demo. They had people in the audience emailing in orders for merch, basically from the Microsoft Directions store, and that was a great demo of that. So, I mean, to answer your question, John, there's always bits and bobs where you kind of like, I wish it could do that. But there's a number of tools in the toolbox, and the final one, of course, is custom dev. And all of the ISVs and all of the custom dev you do with Business Central, it's all in the BCAL language, and so it kind of surfaces directly inside the application, and it's all about extending the capability. So, of course, with the release waves every year, Microsoft need the ability to update that SaaS core product. In the olden days, we'd do true edits on the actual code of the underlying system app. You don't do that anymore. You create extensions. So there's a way there to get what you need done for the clients.
Nice. Let's get into Business Central now.
I mean, there's never a better time to get on board with it.
So when you submitted to come on the podcast, you said that you were kind of, before you were in an end user role and you transitioned into consultancy. What made you make that transition? And for people who are maybe listening that are thinking about career switching, like what's the best way, or what are the pitfalls and, kind of highlights that you've come across that you think, I wish I'd done that slightly differently, or that's great, and etc.
Yeah, no, great question. So I guess the decision around moving on, I kind of got as far as I was going to get in my current company. I had kind of two routes mapped out in my mind. I'd either carry on the IT route and sort of try and find a IT director or CTO role, or having worked very closely with the Microsoft partner that we used at my old place, and I'd worked very, very closely with the consultants, and, got chatting with the managing director there. And she'd said to me, look, Andy, why don't you, she basically said, like, why don't you go and do down the consultancy route? You'd be really good at it. I was like, really? I couldn't believe it, really. So that became an option. And yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It wasn't really a definite conscious decision. It's, there's a lot of luck in life, right? Sometimes some people say the harder you work, the luckier you get. But anyway, I did get in touch with a really great recruitment agency that specifically work in the D365 space. And I think, having worked with recruitment agencies from all over, the ones that are inside the D365 space, they're a different breed than your regular recruitment agents. That's all there is to say about that. They're really, really brilliant. They, come along to the community events, you get to know the people. And so the recruiter, Philippa, she managed to get me in front of, various different Microsoft partners, and ones that saw value in that end user experience and were willing to bring me on. I didn't have any delivering professional services experience, right? So is that how much of a problem is that going to be? My view personally is that, it's the end user experience is absolutely like, gold dust. I would say that naturally, but if you can speak the language of, the finance teams, I've walked the hard miles, I've been on the grass, as a time on the grass on the end user side, that really, really helps. You do need to get up to speed on there's various aspects of professional services delivery. And I was extremely lucky, when I first jumped across, I joined a company called Incremental, incredible company, a really, really, really effective ERP team there. And I learned from the best. I saw how these professional services projects can be delivered, how they should be delivered, managing budget, managing customers' expectations, all those sorts of things. So, I was lucky there. I kind of, had a rapid period of bringing on new skills, skilling up, doing my certificates. I kind of never got around to doing the certificates before, but it's kind of, you just need that badge, don't you? It's a journey.
It's important to have the balance between experience and the certs.
Yeah. I mean, if you just got the certs, I think, there's a lot that is not covered by just getting a cert. I mean, the Business Central cert, as I'm sure, like it's it's one of like the 2-star ones. It's pretty tricky. Like some of the questions they ask you in there, you're not allowed to shout at the screen because they ask you to stop talking if you do that on the proctor's exam, as I found out. I was like reading out the questions because I'm like the so-and-so manager asks the so-and-so person to do it's like so
I got told to
convoluted.
do that as well. Same thing. Yeah, and I quite often, when I'm reading something, I'll read it out loud if I'm on my own. and I don't even realise that I was doing it. And then I get this
Precisely.
phone call come through going, "Excuse me, you do realise you're not allowed to spit?"
Yes, that's right. If I was like, I'm really sorry, and then I was muttering it, and they're like, if you do it again, you get an auto fail. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I thought of something funny during the exam and I smirked, and they thought that I was using my phone.
What happened? Did they tell you? Did they tell you?
They told me off,
naughty
and I
boy?
was like, I legitimately do not have my phone in front of me. I just thought of something funny, and I smirked a little bit.
No smirking allowed on the
No
exams.
smirking,
Oh, good.
no.
At the
No
end of the
smirking.
day, if it means I don't have to drive into Cambridge or get the train down to London or something like that for an exam, then I'm willing to put up with it. Although, if they make you tidy your whole desk.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
I've got a monitor, like a second monitor on the arm here, and I legitimately have to dismantle that every time I do an exam.
So
It legitimately puts me off doing them.
Yeah, I guess, I wouldn't necessarily say they're a necessary. They're just something it's just one of it's in the basket of all the things you've got to do. They're in there basically.
yeah.
End user to consultant. It's a really, there's a skill shortage, in the professional services world. There's a skill shortage, I think, across the whole of the D365 space, not just BC. And Microsoft have recognized this, and they've launched a program. It's been going a couple of years now called BC Reskill. So it's an incredible program. So BC partners can kind of like engage with this program. They will find people in end user roles that want to jump across to the partner side, and they'll kind of put them on a rapid training course to get them up to speed to passing the certificate, to kind of prove that they're as a sort of an exam at the end of the training, I suppose. And yeah, I think that's fantastic that, because people, as I've discovered, people move around a lot in the partner sector, and there's a lot of people moving around, but what's really important is getting that fresh knowledge in. In a couple of years' time, we'll have people coming out of university who've done their entire, university, like they've always had AI, they've always had ChatGPT. There'll be like a AI co-pilot natives, like we talk, in the olden days, talk about digital natives. That's yesterday's news. It's like, what about the AI natives? They've always had AI. They've used AI across their whole school, time.
Yeah,
Those people are going to think differently. They're going to be wired differently. They're going to approach problems differently from like the old, slightly grey-haired people.
Yeah,
and to
be a badgering old man about it, I really hope that isn't like a default to use generative AI for everything.
I think it's a tool.
It is a tool, but it's not a tool for everything.
It's not a tool for everything. There are certain things where it can. I see it like I've used it. Obviously we're looking inside venture. Where can we put Copilot in? All that for like real monster stuff. But just little productivity things. My spelling and grammar shocking. So whenever I write a blog post, I just bung it into chat, into the AI and say like, just check it for miswords and errors, and it's. It means that my content is not so terrible on my blog. But like if I've misworded or, I've repeated myself, because when I read it on the screen, I read what I meant, not what I wrote.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it's, I think there's a series, was on a client meeting yesterday, scribbled tons and tons and tons of notes. Got to type them all up straight away while it's fresh in my mind. Instead, I spoke to ChatGPT all of the notes, and then just had it summarize it for me. And then I read it, and it didn't get everything right, but it turned something that was probably 30 minutes into 5 minutes. It's things like that. It just it's kind of keep finding other ways to use it. I think, if you get it to like create the content and you just use that content as is, that's a big mistake, because it's very generic. And yes, you can ask it to not use too many like American words or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's just the average of what's out there. So it's never going to be super inspirational. It's like an extra pair of hands for sort of dodgy tasks.
Absolutely. So if you could give some advice to people who are looking to do some career switching into consultancy, what top 3 tips could you give?
Top 3 tips, I would say, get onto Microsoft Learn and rattle through the Business Central stuff, just to understand, just to give you an idea of what else, specifically with PC, I suppose we're talking here, just to understand what else is in the app, because you'll have, in the end user, you're usually using it for a particular purpose. So it's good to know what else is out there. Get in touch with a recruiter. It's hard. Looking for a job is hard work. Get in touch with a specific, works in the dynamic space recruiter, because that can really, really make a big difference. They've got all the connections. They can talk to you. They can help you with your CV. all those sorts of things. I mean, the certificate side of it, I don't think you necessarily need that to go and search for a job. I didn't have the certificate when I got the job. I think it depends on a case by case basis. I think the final thing, I don't know if I've gone over 3 now. The final thing is do some mini projects or something like that. I mean, have a look at get onto LinkedIn, find the people that create content on LinkedIn. There's some really great BC, there's some really great PC content, people out there that do lots of stuff. There's lots of interesting stuff, whether it's technical, functional, those sorts of things. And for example, on the Power Platform side, what a great idea AJ came up with recently on like the Power Platform Challenge.
You put me to the punt there. I was going to shout out AJ's content.
What an incredible idea that is, because it's like, you could do something in the evenings and your weekends. You've got to put a bit of investment into it, like do a bit of a hands on the keyboard, doing some of this. You learn so much from that. And then when you're in an interview and they say like, well, what else have you done other than, you're an accounts payable person. So you know that like your back of your hand, but what about warehouse or what about something else? And actually, I thought that was interesting. So I did a mini project and I've made a Power App that connects with BC, or I've, done whatever it could be. It could be the simplest thing on the planet, but just using that part of BC to understand. I found, BC in this area, I tried to do this with it, but it was a real struggle. And the people that BC were like, yeah, it's terrible in that area. How did you solve it? Oh, that's interesting. Just that sort of thing. You will stand out head and shoulders above the rest if you do that kind of an approach.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think it's really important that, as you said before, there's a skills shortage, I think across the board. And, with the AI as it is and as it will be, I think this whole industry is calling out for people who are, human at the end of the day and can communicate and can build relationships with people, which AI is not going to be able to do that.
The most important thing on a project for me is people talk about, I can't think, someone coined the phrase the other day about like the soft skills. Like the soft skills are they're the hardest. It could have been Mark Smith, I think. These skills are so important for the success of a project because, as it happened, like when I first joined on the consultancy, so they sort of parachuted me into like difficult projects. And the challenge there is to like win the hearts and minds, work with the people, listen to the people, understand their problems, like what's happened up till now. It's about getting people on board. It's about working together with people. It's about building up that trust, that you can solve the problem somehow, and managing some of it is down to managing expectations and not over delivering and all that other kind of, the professional services stuff that makes the project successful so that they're happy to pay their invoices at the end of it, sort of thing. And you've delivered a solution that genuinely transforms their business. That's the goal as well.
Absolutely. John, is it time to get uncomfortable?
It is. It is time to get uncomfortable. Not for us.
Is the bear ready for this?
There it is. There's that Dan corner. So, Andy, as you may or may not know, we have a regular slot called Uncomfortable Corner. We'd like to know, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable, whether that was in or outside of work, and what did you do to help yourself get through it? What did you learn about yourself and that problem that will help you the next time?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, the most recent time when I was really uncomfortable was the night before my talk at the Scottish Summit up in Aberdeen. It was my first time talking at one of these big conferences, and I was talking together. I did it with a colleague. That helps a little bit. But the night before, just like couldn't sleep. Like worrying about it's like almost reminded me of back in the days with exams where you have that nightmare where you forgot everything. I was like, what if I forget what I was going to say or mess things up? So there, that was. I think you just getting people. You often hear people who've done tons and tons of talks saying like they always get nervous before talks. I was thinking maybe maybe it just never goes away.
I don't think it does. I don't
if
think
you're
it
nervous,
does.
it means you care, right?
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing to remember. That is that, you're absolutely right. Like if you are worried, if you're panicking about whether it's going to be a good session, whether you're going to mess up, it shows that you care. And I think if you lose that fear, if you lose that sort of like awareness, I don't think you're delivering a good session.
Yeah, I don't think you could. I don't think it's a good idea to beat yourself up about it.
No.
You've just got to allow yourself to feel like that.
Yeah.
The more you feel like that, actually, the easier it gets, the more times you do it, because your body will be and your brain will be like, I've experienced this before. I know it's kind of going to be all right. It's going to be fine. Anyone who says they're not nervous before a presentation, I would challenge that, to be honest.
That's definitely a reoccurring theme, I suppose. But we did the talk and everyone was very happy. And, again, on these community things, made some great connections with a bunch of other ERP people because, the ERP thing is relatively modest inside my strategy is go along to all the D365 PP Power Platform type stuff because I want to learn more about how to bridge the gap between BC and Power Platform. There's this massive opportunity where, yes, you've got the development stuff and traditionally a lot of BC custom stuff has all been custom dev and we've got some I've worked with some incredible developers and they can really make BC do most amazing things. But there is this kind of like area where like we could do that in Power Platform. Chatting with Phil, one of the things that he talks about when Business Central to Dataverse is, do you develop AL, do you develop BC, or do you develop a custom connector that you can then give to the citizen developers or, the sort of super users, and they can reuse it again and again and again on many different projects. And, that's something that I think is definitely the right way to go.
Yeah.
Yes, developers can create reusable code, but make something that's actually usable by a wider proportion of the people. You can unlock more potential productivity, I think.
Absolutely. I really agree with that.
So that's our, we've got on the next, in December, we've got me and Phil are doing a talk. I've been sort of partnering up with people to make the fear factor of doing these talks a little bit less.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's really important as well. I think if you go to any of the Power Platform user groups, they do speak about that, that they really want people who are new to speaking to be able to, have the ability to be able to do that and also partner with people who are maybe more experienced. I think it's really important. So have you got any more sessions coming up, Andy, anywhere? Have you submitted anything anywhere?
The December one, the London, D365 UG, there's a London one on the 10th of December. So myself and Phil Kermeen, we've got a talk, the 4 pillars of Business Central to Dataverse integrations. And again, I heard someone else say this and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe they had the balls to do it. But it's like, put the talk title in and then it's like, if you get accepted, then you've got to learn. You've got to actually learn.
Yeah.
The Chris Huntingford taught me that. He said, just come up with a session title and then work the rest out later.
So I'm there on Tuesday as well.
Fantastic. I'll see you there.
Let's just be clear. This is 2024 we're talking about.
Yes.
So this goes out in 2025.
In the
past.
Actually,
we're talking about an event that happened
in
the past.
It was really good. Andy's session was really good.
Yeah, the keynote.
It went terribly
revelation.
Brilliant. Oh, Andy, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on, and good luck with your session on Tuesday. Well, it's already been and gone. Well done. So, as you can see on the screen, we've got some links to Andy's LinkedIn and also to his website. Also, want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, Untethered 365, who help us keep the lights on. Music today was provided by Ken Like Fit. Music on Spotify, and any links to any resources that we mentioned here will be in the show notes. We'd really love it if you could give us a like on LinkedIn and also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. And that's about it for us. So I'd like to say goodbye to Mike. See you later, Mike. Have a good one.
Bye, Mike.
And Andy, thank you very much, mate, for coming on. And I'll see you soon.
Love you, John.
Love you, mate. See you later.
Love you, Andy.
Love you, Andy.
Oh, is Mike's muted at just the right point, isn't it?
Oh, is it muted again?
No, it's just gone very quiet. But I think we let Lip Red love you. Bye, everyone.